Hey,
That's what the clock is at 10.
I have not.
We were noting the planning commission meeting that the clock was behind. It was almost 2 minutes behind at the planning commission meeting, so it's
Better now. Maybe
maybe
I'll come back up.
it's supposed to be
Yeah.
fashionable. Be a good place for it.
We are? Okay. So it might be. I'm going to my family.
I'm so self-conscious about that. I love seeing that. I think humanize it to you guys. I think it's fantastic. The only thing that could be better is that the puppy was in there. I was like,
I just my son's wedding.
whatever you want. Okay. With that, I can call this meeting roll. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the meeting, I want to welcome you guys all. Thank you all for joining us. This is a bigger group than we've seen in a number of years. Just want to give you guys all a heads up. We are dealing with some technical demons tonight. Our microphones are not working. And to complicate things, we have a member who is participating remotely. Councilmember Conrad is on the Zoom. So if it sounds like we are raising our voices, that is intentional. We generally don't so much in here, but we need to make sure that she can physically see us and hear us at all times. So just giving that disclaimer, just in case you're like, wow, they were really yelling at the council meeting. Not, it's with purpose tonight. So let's see. With that, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Herschel.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Sayer. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Conrad,
Aye.
Councilmember Hirschman,
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer,
Aye.
Councilmember Pascal,
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. All right, community comments. Presenters are welcome to address the council for matters relevant to the City of Carver's authority for up to 5 minutes on items that are not listed on the agenda. Specific requests for information may not be immediately available, in which case follow-up will occur with the presenter sometime after the meeting. The City Council should not be expected to immediately act on requests. However, we'll follow up accordingly and may schedule items for future consideration. Is anyone here tonight for community comments? I think that's what I'm here for. No, you are actually, but you can come on up. You are next on the agenda. Oh, okay. Just last chance, anybody else? Comments? It's generally not time that anybody roses up, so come on. All right.
I'm not into this, so.
No, let's sit down. So you must be Kim with SBA.
I am Kari with FBA. So,
Sorry. Kari, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself and let us know what you're all about and why you're here tonight.
my name is Kari Fields. I sit on the board at the Southern Valley Alliance. I'm also a nurse and I'm the director of operations at St. Francis Regional Medical Center. Thanks for having me. Hi. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for having me here today to speak with you. As I said, I'm a member of the board of directors at Southern Valley Alliance. October is Domestic Violence Awareness, and now more than ever, it's imperative that the City of Carver recognize and work to combat domestic violence. Southern Valley Alliance is the only organization to provide service to victims of domestic abuse in Scott and Carver counties. In the last fiscal year, we served 27 victims in Carver alone, answering over 2,000 calls on our crisis line annually. We assist with victims and survivors in their greatest time of need by providing crisis intervention, emotional support, rescue, resources, and safety planning. SVA is in the prevention and solution focused organization, and we partner with law enforcement, social services, and healthcare providers to make communities of Scott and Carver County a safer place to live. Southern Valley Alliance was founded in the 1980s in Belle Plaine by a local woman who experienced spousal abuse. SVA moved to Shakopee in January of 2024, and since then we have experienced a 20% increase in the demand for our services because of greater accessibility to our advocacy center. Victims and survivors are now able to reach us more than ever before. As a community-based and community-funded organization, SVA is facing significant federal, state, and local funding cuts. Amidst these cuts, it is important that the City of Carver recognize Domestic Violence Awareness Month and does all it can to support the victims and survivors today and throughout the year. We encourage community members to follow us on social media and learn more on our website, SVAMN. Thank you for your support of Southern Valley Alliance and helping us support those in our community.
Thank you so much for coming. If you guys haven't been to visit, Christy's been like very, very generous with your time and gave me a tour. You guys have a really great location. I've been to both of them. The Shakopee location is definitely an upgrade.
Great.
And I know it's more convenient for you and for the clients that you serve. So thank you very much. What questions do you guys have? I don't have any.
I appreciate you coming and just making a statement of awareness.
Yeah.
I think that's important, so appreciate you being here.
Great. Thank you.
One more question, just put you on the spot.
Yeah.
You want to pitch your event that's like this week?
Do I want, I'm sorry.
You want to promote your event? Claire with me?
Oh, okay, we have flannels and flapjacks on Thursday morning. There's still tickets available, so if you'd like to come and join us, we'll thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great. The agenda here. We have a public hearing for the capital improvement plan for the public services land acquisition. So let's see. I will make a motion to open the public hearing. Need a second on that.
I'll second.
Second, the motion was Mayor Johnson. The second was Councilmember Hirschman, and we need a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Conrad,
Aye.
Councilmember Hirschman,
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer,
Aye.
Councilmember Pascal,
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, Council. What you have before you this evening, excuse me, is a resolution providing for the preliminary approval of capital improvement plan bonds, and then also the approval of a 5-year capital improvement plan, which is meant to facilitate the issuance of those capital improvement plan bonds. So just to be very clear, we are not suggesting or bringing forward right now the approval of bonds. This would be at a future date, as the city has a number of different projects next year. So rather than have you issue on a singular basis and go through all of that process, combining some things down the road, but getting through some of the statutory approval process at this point. So some of this may feel a little bit familiar to the council, as we just did this last year, as the council was doing some HVAC improvements to your current public services facility, and then also the construction of that addition to the fire hall related to the turnout here. So apologies if any of this seems redundant, but we'll get through this quickly. So currently we have a proposed through 2029 5-year capital improvement plan. This is related to the purchase of property that is proposed to be the site of the future public services facility. So as the council is aware, when we draft these plans, when we say capital improvement plan or your CIP, we're speaking specifically to the acquisition or construction of those essential service type facilities. So when we talk about that, it's city halls, police departments, fire halls, public works departments, etc. So when we say CIP, we're not referring to your comprehensive CIP that tracks everything from acquisition of tools, equipment, streets, etc. This is again just specific to essential service facilities. So with that in mind, the plan that is in your packet this evening, as I mentioned, it's a 5-year capital improvement plan, but the only proposed activity is again the facilitating the purchase of this property. So within the plan, there are 8 separate areas that are required under state law to be reviewed and acknowledged within your plan, provide some details as to going through the process. So those start on page 4 of your plan. And currently this speaks to the condition of city infrastructure Now, the city is not at the point where you need the public services facility today, but you will need it in the very near term. So the city is going through the process of acquiring land now, because of the fact that you can acquire property for what is likely less money than you would in the future, that it helps you to preserve your commercial and industrial property, and that it also helps with the design and the scope of the actual public services facility, that future vision of that property. Number two, so the likely demand for the project. You've gone through all of the facility planning and the space needs analysis, and that's been determined that, of course, as you continue to grow, add staff, et cetera, that you will need a new facility in the future. So again, at this time, just looking to acquire property. The estimated cost of the improvement, so now we're under number three. So the plan is drafted to allow for up to $1 million to acquire that property. What we understand is that you're paying around $900,000 for that land. We give you a little bit of buffer in there just in case you need a cushion, so we don't have to come back if it's $910,000, for example. We don't want to set that right at $900,000. The available public resources, the bonds that are proposed to be issued in the future will be supported with ad valorem property taxes. Relative benefits and cost of the alternative uses of funds. So we have looked at other issuing options for the city in terms of lease revenue bonds versus CIP bonds. Lease revenue bonds are typically more expensive for cities to issue because they are based on a lease payment and annual appropriation. They do not carry the general obligation pledge of the city, and that means they're more expensive for cities, not only from a cost of issuance perspective, but from an interest rate perspective. So at this time, our understanding is that the city wishes to move forward with the issuance of capital improvement plan bonds versus another issuance method. The operating cost of the proposed improvements, currently it's just land, so we don't anticipate that there would be any ongoing costs related to holding that land for future use. And then, of course, statute does speak to or ask about alternatives for providing services sort of in connection with other municipalities. Obviously, for a public works facility, it doesn't make sense for that to be located outside of city limits, as your response times and your ability to provide service would increase. So with that, we then go through a couple of different tests that are related to the issuance of CIP bonds. So there's the limitation that you cannot exceed 3% of your overall market value. Of course, the city is not anywhere near close to that. And then we also do a test related to the principal and interest that could be due in any given year when you have CIP bonds outstanding. So we do a test based on that, and that cannot exceed 0.16% of your estimated market value. In both of those tests, we describe that within the plan, and the city is well within your ability to issue the bonds and make debt service payments. With that, I will pause. Any questions that I can answer for the council? I will step back in case anyone here wants to speak to the council.
All right, we're still in the public hearing. Does anybody have any comments about the capital improvement plan for the public services and net acquisition? Chris, can you come up? All right, if there are no public comments, we will be closing the public hearing. So again, I'll ask, are there any public comments? After all public comments are received, if any, the public hearing will be closed. No further comments on this issue will be received at this meeting. Last call for public comments. Okay, I get a motion to close the public hearing, please.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second by Councilmember Pascal. Any further discussion? Read the roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad,
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman,
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer,
Aye.
Councilmember Pascal, Mayor Johnson.
Motion passes. All right, any additional comments or questions from city council? I'm just looking down the caption. Christy looks like she's shaking her head. Took breath, go.
No, only because I was looking at my notes. We've been looking at this really close July, fund discussion in August, and we had the packet information ahead of time, so I have all the information I need.
Okay. That's a good way of saying it. All right, then I would need a motion, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 130-25, giving preliminary approval to the issuance of general obligation capital improvement bonds in an amount not to exceed $1 million, and adopting the City of Carver, Minnesota capital improvement plan for the years 2025 through 2029.
By Councilmember Bertram,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Sayer. Any further discussion? Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Conrad,
Aye.
Councilmember Hirschman,
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer,
Aye.
Councilmember Pasco,
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Motion passes. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, up next is the consent agenda. Make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Get a motion by Councilmember Pasco,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Conrad. Any further discussion? Just for those of you in the audience, the consent agenda is generally items that don't require much discussion, are very kind of turnkey in nature, if you will. Things like meeting minutes, and approving liquor licenses, those kinds of things are what are on the consent agenda tonight. So we approve all of those in kind of one fell swoop. With that, can I get the roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Conrad,
Aye.
Councilmember Hirschman,
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer,
Aye.
Councilmember Pasco,
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Motion passes. All right, first we have under business items, the Taco Bell concept plan. Ms. Smith.
Thanks.
I think so, okay.
Thank you, Mayor Council. Tonight we're reviewing. Can I use the clicker? Oh wait, is that me? All right, tonight we're reviewing a concept plan for Taco Bell. So we're asking tonight that you provide general feedback, information that you'd be looking for the next time you see an application. So if you have a question tonight that you'd like to see, should they move forward with an additional application, this is your chance to ask that question, and hopefully we can incorporate it into our plans, or at least our discussion with Taco Bell as we move through the planning process. So some context of where we're located: we are in Carver Commons, adjacent to Next Step Learning Center, Quick Trip, Hometown Bake, Mocha Monkey, Les Schwab. And you can see on the screen that Taco Bell slides right between the Les Schwab site, which is currently under construction, looks significantly taller than the building will actually be. So if you drive past and you're shocked by its height, know that that's not the actual building height. And the Hometown Bank property. So in the Freeway Commercial District, Taco Bell is a permitted use. Just a reminder for folks watching and the City Council, the city does not choose businesses. We zone the property for a type. So this is zoned Freeway Commercial. Taco Bell is a permitted user in that district. A drive-through is additionally permitted. We have some language in our code about distance from residential properties, or if there's a street between. So this property, the Taco Bell has Jonathan Carver Parkway or County Road 11, and the required space setback from residential properties. There is platting that is being requested in this, so they are not planning to develop the entire outlot as it is today. So the entire space north of Quick Trip and Hometown Bank, there will be a split, leaving about 1.3 developable acres. Taco Bell will take about that same size. The remaining lot will be available for development. So Taco Bell will take a portion. There'll be a remainder left for development in the future. A couple of reminders and things to think about: the slip right from Jonathan Carver Parkway into the Les Schwab site was under construction this summer, so you're probably familiar with it now. But the Taco Bell will be just south of that, but have direct access from that slip right into the site. And then with additional accesses from Monroe Drive, again on a slip right, and then the full intersection a bit further west towards Meridian Fields. Some renderings that were included in the packet from the developer. So it's a 2,867 square foot building. It does meet the required setbacks of the zoning district. So they are not currently requesting a planned commercial development overlay, which we sometimes have to do if someone can't meet a setback or have different requirements for their project from the zoning code. So at this point, that request is not part of the application. It might be as we start to learn more about the site and thinking through some additional details, but at this time it's not included. The site additionally includes 30 parking stalls for the business. So the renderings that are on the screen now would be as if Next Steps is behind you. So you're looking towards Jonathan Carver Parkway, Taco Bell between you. So the vestibule will face interior to the Carver Commons site. Yeah, for trash. This is my next one. The site plan and plans in the packet include 9 car lengths within the drive-through. There's additional overflow into the parking lot. I know that was a concern when we looked at Hometown Bank and Mocha Monkey. What would it look like should drive-through traffic exceed what is allowable in the drive-through, but it overflows into the parking lot, not a private or city street. So it wouldn't be impactful to traffic routing for the remainder of the site. There's interior seating of tables and bar stools for 38 seats, and the trash enclosure is fully integrated into their building. So this would be if you were standing with Hometown Bank and Mocha Monkey to your right, again, looking towards Jonathan Carver Parkway, but getting a feel for their signage as well as landscape plan that's included in the packet. So getting into some of the nitty gritty, here's the site plan. So you can see something to highlight here are those 9 car lengths that are included in the drive-through. So you can see how that they would queue through. And then for a little bit of orientation. So the parking stalls that you see on the south, those are the Hometown Bank Mocha Monkey stalls. So you can start to get a feel of where Taco Bell aligns with that project to the south, how it connects into the parking lot, that one way that goes north-south in front of Hometown Bank, extends up past the Taco Bell, connecting beyond Taco Bell into that slope right. So you'll start to get a feel for site circulation once you get your bearings in that location with the Hometown Bank parking lot being shown as those parking stalls on the south side. Here's the interior of the building. It's flipped from the packet. So if you really study the packet plans and you are saying that's upside down, it got flipped. So JCP would be on the top of my screen with the drive-through indicated with the arrow. So looking at the interior, you'll see the 38 spaces or seats with the bar stool and table seating, majority of the facility being used for kitchen, prep space, bathrooms, etc. And then the full trash enclosure that is on the far right side of the screen right now near the drive-through. 2 other things to note and things to think about. We had someone from the public at the Planning Commission meeting that came in and talked a little bit about dark sky and signage overnight and talking about some signage in Carver Commons that is bright overnight. So that person shared an email with me. I'll pass it on to Brent to share with the council, just contemplating overnight signage in general. So the comments weren't specific to the Taco Bell, but she requested that we think about keeping the dark sky as dark as possible. But as part of any application, we get a photovoltaic plan that shows where the lights will be located and then where the spill of the lights will be. So it's always our goal that parking lot and facility is safe, but that light typically does not spill off of their site. So on the left, you can see that plan. And then on the right is landscape, which includes 8 trees, 75 shrubs, and then 36 reed grasses throughout the plan. So a generous landscape plan throughout the parking lot and around the perimeter of the building. Again, just some renderings of the building. I think Shannon is in the back, so I'm going to invite her up to join the conversation. Again, council plan review, share comments, feedback, things that you'd like to see if they move forward with an additional application. Will you introduce yourself when you come up?
My name is Shannon Marcus, and I'm with Marvin Development, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
So how about hours of operation?
So typically our hours are 6 to 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. But it just varies kind of city to city depending on demand. Usually the 2 a.m. is weekends, and then midnight to 1 a.m. on weekdays.
Staffing, how many jobs is this for you?
Yeah, so ideally for fully staffed, we're around 40 employees, a mix of full-time and part-time, but 30 to 40 is ideal.
Aaron, this might be a question for you, and I think you addressed it, but kind of the architectural compatibility. That was a concern when we went through the Les Schwab development to kind of make sure it fit alongside of the bank.
And I just will share, I've shared this information with Shannon today too. The proposed materials, they do meet the intent of our zoning code. So you can provide suggestions, but in general, the building does comply with our code. So we can work with Taco Bell, ask some questions, ask some preference related things, but in general, it does conform with the Freeway Commercial Zoning District.
I realize too, this is very early concept. I like seeing what I think must be the for bikes to secure. And I just will probably need a reminder here when we get to the point of when those type of things are final. Right now, I don't have enough feel for like, will people want outdoor seating or not, but I'll be looking to council and residents and, kind of watch for that on concept plans.
There's no outdoor seating right now.
Correct, yes, no patio or outdoor seating.
Okay. Like I said, when I see, that seems funny. But
Yeah, no, typically in
Still open.
Minnesota, we don't use the outdoor seating as often. We have some locations with it that's not used as much as we like, and plus with the trash sometimes isn't contained. So we just like to keep kind of a tidy, clean site. And so we've been removing the patio lately.
Yeah, so we looked at this at planning commission 2 weeks ago. That's right, ish, yeah. And I don't have any additional comments, but just to let the council know, the comments that came up were mostly to do with the appearance of the building. So the two big things, there was some concern about the weathered metal. The tower, the Taco Bell tower is proposed to be of a weathered metal. So basically the rusted metal that you see on a lot of Taco Bell buildings now, but also on some city projects, like Chaska has some of that as well in some of their city projects. There was some concern that would look aged, dated, worn down, etc. And the other one was that the way that these windows are proposed, it looks very much like industrial doors, and some concern over making this look more like an industrial park than a commercial zone, especially with the Les Schwab next door. And then obviously, as always, purple is a big color, and so that got brought up as well. But just so you guys know, those were the comments, the big comments that were brought up.
Christy?
I'm gonna follow up with what Kayla just stated. So one of the comments I was going to have is that when we're looking at perspective 2 in the packet, that side of the building really looks like just a bunch of garage doors. So it gives me that same feeling as comments came in at the planning commission, that we look really industrial, that we have a bunch of buildings of garage storage. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the end one, right? Because we're keeping the garbage inside. I think that's great. But as I look down the building and then we look down the Les Schwab, it just, to me, this gives me an appearance of garage doors also. So for my question, I guess, is this I know that you certainly have your branding standards, your colors, your certain design standards. Is this typical to have an entire side look like garage doors?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, this is our typical current design that corporate has put out. So this is the one option that we have right now for our building design. And so this is what we've been doing since about 2020 for our building design.
Okay.
I mean, there's more of an opinion, but I do feel like it is broken up pretty well with the expression panels and the purple, just to kind of give it some visual interest, if you will.
Could you by any chance give us an example of a local recent Taco Bell that has a similar look to this, so that maybe if we wanted to
absolutely.
drive by on our own time?
Yeah. So the closest, newest ones are probably Minnetonka on Highway 7.
Okay.
We also have Lakeville on 35W, kind of like Keokuk is kind of by the Imagine Theater and the more down there. Those are probably the two closest to drive by. We have a lot of others, like in North St. Paul and Andover. We have one going up in Ramsey right now, but that's more of a hike, I think.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess I'll end that one with that is not my favorite look, is to have that. Again, I understand that your branding, your Taco Bell logo, the color scheme, things like that are stuff that comes with the territory of a Taco Bell. That side looks really blank, and the aesthetics of it are just not pleasing to the eye for me. and I'll see if council has any other comments on that after I guess I'm done, but I do appreciate the long drive into the drive-through. Thank you, Erin, for bringing that up too, because that was a concern of mine when we were looking at Hometown Bank and the Mocha Monkey there. I have a question with the light pollution. So if we are looking at having this open and a drive-through open until 2 a.m. in the morning, and if I'm looking at the topography right, I can't remember what slide number it is, that this building is going to sit up higher. So as cars come through that drive-through, now I know we've kind of thought of what happens when we go west, but what happens when we look east, when those cars are coming into that drive-through and at 1 o'clock in the morning or midnight, those headlights are shining now across the road into Spring Creek development and shining into their windows. Can you speak to any remedy? Any thoughts on that? Have we looked at that already?
Yeah, absolutely. In the landscape, you can kind of see on the two corners, there's some like landscape buffering, if you will. And
Can
so
you
we
tell me
try to-
which sheet we're on here? I'm sorry, I can't see you, so I don't know what slide we're on.
The slides that are up right now.
I can't.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, there it is. Yep, I did get it now. Okay.
And so yeah,
That looks like-
typically we put up that landscape buffer just to block those headlights. Because obviously we want to be a good partner and neighbor. And so typically that will suffice kind of as you turn, it'll buffer the headlights.
And we can, as we move through the process, we can make sure that that corner specifically has a mix of like shrubs and arborvitae trees. So they can be blocking day one instead of an overstory tree, which can take, that probably won't work since this is higher. We will be thoughtful about what happens on that corner in the landscape plan.
Okay, yeah, I would beef that up a little bit. How about going the other direction? Obviously, that's an open lot for now. I don't perceive any issues with light going that direction with headlights. Do you, Erin?
Christy, can you see the packet that's up? It shows landscaping on both the north and the south.
I think she just means like leaving the site.
Yep. Leaving the site. So
Yeah.
that's the road. So yeah, there's no landscaping there because it goes over into the empty 1.3 acres that's left.
Yep, so it'll be that lot and then between there and Meridian Field, I would say next steps is about on the same plane as the Taco Bell. So
Okay.
I'd say that would be a buffer as well between that and Meridian Field. And it's a huge distance. It's a pretty big site.
Yeah, yep. And then we will make sure that they abide by the foot candle requirements that we have at the property lines for the dark sky.
We don't have a dark sky ordinance, but yes, it will with MPCA light pollution.
Yep. Yes, I realize we don't actually have that, but we do have foot candle requirements, right?
Yep.
Okay, I think that's all my questions. Thank you.
I am, this is a really significant project for the city of Harbor. We've been talking and there are a lot of local restaurateurs, a lot of local businesses, some regional chains. So this is kind of our first national chain. So there's something that's exciting in that. And there is a ton of buzz. I think that we put this announcement on Facebook right before Stevo Days, which is our community festival in early September. And I think that's the only thing that people approached me on the entire weekend. So people are excited. And I think with the number of families and the amount of running that folks in our community do, I think that a convenience fast food drive-through restaurant is going to be very, very busy. I love that the trash is enclosed. I think that that's really significant. Sometimes it's really tough to shield those kinds of things. I love the thought that was put into the car queuing because again, I do think you're going to be fairly busy. So I think it's important to kind of plan for an overabundance of vehicle traffic of folks who are trying to get a quick bite to eat in between things. The questions, and I kind of share some of the same feedback. We had an individual who reached out to me and then I advised him to go to the planning commission meeting with this feedback just on design elements of trying to incorporate more stone and wood. In our area, the newer Taco Bells that we see are Waconia and Jordan. And I believe that those are a couple versions of building past. But I think that those are a little less purple forward, which I think is something that I would love to see if there's any wiggle room in that. Because again, I think trying to keep with the architecture of that area with Hometown Bank, with Next Steps, it's a little less just kind of glaring and kind of more of warm colors versus cool colors. That said, I completely understand that you can tell me to pound sand and that you do fit all of our requirements for architecture. I appreciate the screening thoughts and the idea to be a good neighbor. And I'm really excited about the jobs that this is going to do for our community. So that is it for my comments. Just make sure the list.
Perfect. No, thank you. We're very excited to be here as well. And to that point with the building design, I know that was discussed at the Planning Commission. And so we talked internally trying to figure out a way, but Everbright is the sign vendor that's been approved by corporate. So we're just a Taco Bell franchisee. So we don't unfortunately get a lot of say in what we build. We're just kind of told this is what you can. And so Everbright, the sign vendor, doesn't even make the slat wall anymore. Unfortunately, that is on the Explorer Light, which is what's in Waconia and Jordan, and honestly, a lot of the places surrounding here were that model. And so, unfortunately, it's not even available today, which is kind of a bummer, but we've had a lot of success with this model too that we've been building since 2021, I believe. And so we've found that the community overall has liked it historically, but I do understand the interesting finishes too of wanting stone or wood or, different looks as well.
And we'll continue the conversation too, like what we captured tonight will go in a staff comment letter. And even if the building can't significantly change, maybe a couple more of those focal panels could be added in a couple locations that might be important. So we'll continue the conversation.
I'm related to you mentioned a franchise. Can you talk to me about who you are? How many franchisees does this group have? Where are you based out of?
Yeah, absolutely. So Marvin Development is who is looking to purchase and build the Taco Bell. Border Foods is kind of our sister company, if you will. They're our operator. And so we're a family-owned and operated franchisee. We only build and operate Taco Bells. I believe we have 253 as of today, Monday. So
Did that change?
Yes, we opened up one in Hudsonville, Michigan today. Yes. So yeah, we're across 10 states, all in the Midwest. So but we're housed here in New Hope. So it's a pretty small office relatively, but we've been expanding and trying to build more in the places that we already are in the communities of, and just looking to try to branch out further, especially in Minnesota, since this is our home state. We're so close.
Well, again, there's a bus. About Taco Bell getting here. Can you, I don't know if it's a you question or Aaron question, but can you talk to me about timeline, shovels in the ground?
Yeah,
your first burrito.
the sooner the better. But right now we are we're in agreements with United Properties just to purchase the property. And I believe the final prelim and the final plat are hopefully coming up yet before winter. And so once we're able to purchase the property, we're hopefully looking to start the next, beginning of the construction season, whether that's the spring, summer, would be ideal, but we don't own the property yet, so I don't want to speak too soon, but we're excited to start building as soon as we are able.
And then what is a construction cycle look like?
Yeah, so our average is roughly 120 days, give or take, so 4-ish months. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that goes really fast.
It is fast, yeah. We typically use Fullerton, which is like a building system that kind of already has the walls constructed, so they just put them up. So basically you're gonna go from seeing a slab to a building in a week, which is kind of crazy. Then we obviously build up the inside and everything.
So that's similar how the apartments were constructed. So if it felt like that happened really quickly, it was that same system.
Yeah, so we're able to build them quick, and we have a couple of favorite GCs that we use that help speed up the process and kind of work out the kinks. So it's a very nice, smooth process. So yeah, roughly 4 months.
Thank you for letting me interrogate you.
Thank you for the questions. I appreciate it.
All right, don't think we need any action on this one. All right, I think we're done.
Thank you.
Shannon, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Up next, we have the Enclave Residential Development Project, the EAW findings of fact. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Like you just mentioned, tonight we're reviewing the Environmental Assessment Worksheet, or the EAW, for the Enclave at Carver Creek, presented by D.R. Horton. There are members from the EAW team, D.R. Horton, and then their engineer in the room too. So if you don't have questions that Aaron and I can answer, they've got a whole team here to answer some questions too. So some project reminders is proposed by D.R. Horton, which they historically have built Meridian Fields and Hawthorne Ridge in the city of Carver. The property that the EAW studied is roughly 255 acres. At time of concept plan and the EAW, it's about 530 units. It's a mix of single family and multifamily, so townhomes. And the comprehensive plan guides the property as residential, both low and high. So that's the mix of single family and townhomes. So location, we are west of our current city limits, so connecting into the preserve on the northernmost side, the Brandel Anderson project, and then Timber Creek as you move south with the Lennar project. So area that would need to be annexed into the city of Carver, but directly adjacent to two residential projects that are getting pretty close to completion based on building permits and construction that's been happening over the past couple of years in the preserve and Timber Creek. The concept plan is on the screen now. I know the city council looked at a couple versions of this as we worked through some details about parks and trails and connection and an abundance of cul-de-sacs. So the most recent one that the city council reviewed is on the screen now. So general concept showing the 530 units split between a few models that D.R. Horton offers. So the orangey color is their more traditional single family. Green on the northeast side is a smaller lot. And then on the northwest, where the high density residential is called for in the comp plan, it's the townhome project. So you can see the different types of housing that they're offering in the concept plan for the enclave. So what is an environmental assessment worksheet? What are we working on tonight specifically? So it's required by Minnesota state statute based on project size. So the most recent one we reviewed was for the United Properties Industrial Project. So that triggered it due to project size of that industrial user. Similarly, the enclave triggered it by a number of single family units. So depending on how many units, we'll decide if you need an AAW or not. And it's also based on your community size. So the 530 units in state statute said, yes, it's required.
What was the rank there?
For when you need one, I think it's 350. So it far exceeded the state statute requirement. So the document that you're reviewing tonight and looking at is not meant to approve or deny a project. So it's not you moving through any land use approvals that the city would typically see. So this does not grant preliminary plat approval or final plat approval or give a blessing of land use by any means. So it's not in current city limits, and those applications aren't contemplated by the council tonight. An EAW, I think, sells itself really short because it says it's a 20-question document that answers questions about the natural and built environment. But if you scroll through the packet, you will see that it's a large document. A lot of work and study and time and expertise goes into these. So I think saying it's a 20-question document can make it seem laissez-faire, where it's a pretty substantial environmental review that happens. So different categories that are reviewed are land use, climate adaptation, cover types, required permits, contamination, wildlife, historic properties, visual air, greenhouse gases, noise, and transportation. So obviously transportation is something that internally we think about a lot. So how will these city streets connect into our system? How does it compare to our comprehensive plan? How can we ensure that people can move effectively, both moving to this development, but also residents that are here? So making sure that we don't create issues when we continue to move west with projects, to make sure that our streets can handle the amount of development that we're seeing west of current city limits. So the purpose of an EAW, or the purpose of an environmental assessment worksheet, is to determine if an environmental impact statement is required. So again, I think the EAW language sells itself a little bit short, that that's the only thing that you're asked to contemplate, is that if an EIS is required based on the amount of information that you receive in an EAW. So if an EAW discovers there's a significant impact on one or more topics, then it triggers the need for an EIS, which is a much more intense and involved environmental process that allows us to study that one or those several categories that require additional information. So It could be that the EAW went out and an agency flagged something, so they found a historic burial ground. That would likely trigger an EIS where we would say, we need to slow this process down. We need to continue studying this to understand what our impact is, but also the impact of the project moving forward. An EAW is typically designed for agency review, so it's not something that a resident would probably pick up and enjoy just based on the technicality of the document. It's designed for other agencies to review, so they get the information that they need to be able to apply their rules and what they know about a project to that specific EAW. Again, an EAW does not contemplate land use approvals, so the city process will continue should this move forward with preliminary plat, rezone, and final plat. Annexation is another one that should be added in there. And then our city review also contemplates many facets of the EAW. So the information that we get from the traffic study in an EAW, we apply to preliminary plat. So we make sure that the intersections will be successful and that stop signs are located where they need to be. So an EAW helps supplement our review too. It fills in some of the gaps that we sometimes can have. If a project is smaller, we might wonder what traffic will do. Or when we have an EAW, we know what the traffic study says. We know how traffic should operate. Obviously, the human factor can't be measured, but we can say what typically should happen once an EAW is completed. So work completed today specifically on the EAW is that the development team prepared a draft and submitted it to staff. At that point, we go through the EAW. We provide comments, so we provide information that we know just internally, things that we're working on or things that we've thought about. We send their comments back. The development team revises the EAW. At that point, the EAW is circulated to required agencies for a 30-day review. So you send it out to all the agencies that are on the screen right now, and they have 30 days to look through the entire EAW or sections that are applicable to them. And we request that they provide comments back to us. So then we take in the comments, and that's where we're at tonight. So 6 comment letters were received on the Enclaves EAW. They were received from the Minnesota Department of Transportation, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, Minnesota State Historic Preservation Office, Carver County Public Works, the Met Council, and the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. Some of the comments that I want to highlight or think about, many of the comments throughout the process are reminders. So it says, when you get to platting and permitting, make sure you apply for this permit with our agency. That will be required. So you'll see that many of the comments back are so noted. We'll continue with that application when it comes. So it's just, several of them are just reminders, but essentially a way to say, like, we looked at the EAW, we're anticipating a permit when you start to move through the process. So a good check and balance to make sure that we are getting all permits that are required, doing reviews that are required. A comment that was significant to staff, MnDOT, and the development team was sound, especially related to the townhome development adjacent to 212. So we've talked a lot about that just internally with the development team, understanding that it's the same location as the Preserve and Meridian Fields with distance at 212. And we have required some different things for different projects. So we can talk about enhanced construction materials. So having windows that are, I don't want to say denser, but muffle sound more than a typical window would. So its construction materials can be a mitigant for it. Berming, landscaping, sound walls, etc. So those are all things that we're thinking about. I don't know if we have the exact answer right now from the development team or city staff. We have talked a little bit about what it looks like if that area, a portion of it is not as developable as we once thought. So it's guided right now for high density. That's why those townhomes were there, and that's why they are pretty close to 212, because that density called for it. So we've talked a little bit internally with the development team. Is there any appetite for a comp plan amendment? Could we re-guide that property to be lower density to have less units specifically on that site? We don't know the answer to that yet, so it's to be continued just as we work through the process, understanding D.R. Horton's needs, what products they offer in Minnesota right now, what the market is calling for. If there's a huge market for townhomes and we want to move forward with some mitigation, we'll talk through that in the stage of platting. So more information to come, but I would say that was one that stuck out to staff, the development team, and I think some of you when we first went out for distribution for the EAW. So I wanted to highlight that one. A second comment letter was the Met Council. So if you saw red flashing lights that a comp plan amendment is required, we knew that to be true. So in Carver specifically, there's a lot of property in a program with the county called Agricultural Preserve. So it impacts the way that the property is taxed. But on our comp plan future land use map, it's shown as agriculture, which is, I think, a little bit misleading because we have an additional future land use map that shows uses, city uses. So we need to do a comp plan amendment for those properties, no matter what, to re-guide them from ag to low density residential. So it's an extra step in the process, one that we know about, one that is a little bit frustrating, just knowing that the property isn't going to be ag. We're not going to annex property into the city. It's in our growth area for an ag use. So we've shared that feedback with the Met Council, but it continues to be as it is. So it will require a comp plan amendment to go from ag to anything else, no matter what. And then they had some questions about water, which I think Aaron provided some additional information, including information from our long-term financial plan. No, yes, okay. Showing that we have some planned water upgrades to our system that will allow for this development to be successful. So not based on what we have right now, but some of the future plans that we have to increase our water availability. And then various groups commented on things like protection for bluffs and big wood trees on the property. So our bluff ordinance will be part of this. Our tree preservation will also be part of our review. So something on our radar. Where we're at with D.R. Horton with that concept plan, like you mentioned, it's just our best guess right now of what things will look like. But through the planning process, we make sure that the plans also are consistent with our tree preservation bluff ordinance. We would require, if there's some bluff we think on the property, that to be on each survey with the bluff tiered setbacks as well. So calling that out really clearly to future residents, as well as working on our bluff preservation to make sure that it's applied to all lots on the project. So after the environmental assessment worksheet, the work continues. So the information that was provided in the EAW tonight, so you'll see some comments from Mary Claire, who worked on the EAW, just giving some feedback back to the applicant or to the commenters. Some of them are so noted, thank you. Some of them have substantial information, like the water section to the Met Council. Aaron has inserted several graphs and tables into that. So we will recirculate the document again to those groups so they can see the comments that they made and then our responses back. So they'll see that information back and forth. And then the document is also, it's published with the Environmental Quality Board. So it goes through a couple more publishing dates before it's completely finished with the EAW. And then future applications for the project might include annexation, comp plan amendment for the land use, preliminary plat, rezoning, final plat. I want to back up. This one. So the Met Council also called for a text amendment to our comprehensive plan. So we've been working really closely with the Met Council on our population projections, and we've been exceeding them for the past couple of years. So our current comp plan, we would need to do a text amendment for these projects to happen because our population is set to exceed what we have in our 2040 plan. So we will do likely a few comprehensive plan amendments. So I just want to give you a teaser that I'll move you through the process. We'll go through the full reviews, but there likely will be a text amendment as part of this project for a population increase as well for our projected population numbers with the Met Council. Okay, I should pass that then. Okay, so the request before the council is tonight is to determine if an environmental impact statement is required. So that's what the resolution has in the packet. It's a findings of fact and record of decision for the EAW if an EIS is required. I'm going to ask that maybe we start the conversation and you can pull up who you would like, but we have Deb and Mike with D.R. Horton, Mary Claire put together the EAW, and then D.R. Horton's engineer is here too. So lots of folks that can help you through questions or comments.
Council, who's first? Yeah, you can ask you first, all right, go ahead.
Thank you, Aaron, for highlighting the work that's being done on the sound issues. That has been continuously my biggest concern. So I'm glad to see that we're working through that. Yeah, that was just coming back to my main comment every time is concerned about that sound, so.
For the sound, how is that metered? So like, can we require them to put in a higher end window, knowing that the cost will likely go to the homeowner, but then at least we plan to have for sometimes I think too, not just the current resident, future residents.
Yes, so we can require that. The sound is through the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, so it's technically pollution that way. But yes, we required enhanced building materials both in the preserve and Meridian fields with how close they are to 212. So yes, we've historically done an Edwin Plan 2 should the numbers continue to be what they are right now.
That was my only question, just unfamiliar with that process.
Okay, so I'm sorry to be a dummy. This is a finding of fact, right, for EAW, but the question here is for an environmental impact statement. Do we decide that, or doesn't the EAW determine that?
It's a little bit of both. So if the EAW came back and one of these was a glaring issue,
Right.
I'd say my presentation would be a lot different. And the staff recommendation would be to move to an EIS. This EAW came back relatively clean, I would say, so there wasn't significant environmental impact beyond some of the comments that were received, like the noise, which we are going to continue to work through. Water was a big one, but Erin has shared some additional information. So I would say at this point, the level of follow-up on the CAW is just providing additional information for folks. It's not an agency saying, hang
I didn't
on.
hear you say anything that would trigger that. That's why.
Yes.
All right.
So it's staff recommendation tonight to move forward with a negative finding that an EIS is required.
All right. Well, that answered my question. I don't have any.
Erin, I have another question about the sound mitigation. So is there any possibility that the MPCA is going to require us to have any kind of actual screening, like wall, like you would see more towards the metro off of 212? Is that possible?
It could, yes. The topography of where the townhomes is located, it's much higher than 212. So it's a little bit tricky that a fence might not offer a ton of visual screening. So sound wall is typical for, you want to think that it's for sound, but it's typical visual. So it's removing your visual of the highway, which then kind of tricks your senses into hearing the sound. So it's a little bit tricky on the site with it being higher, but yes, that could be a requirement if we move forward with the townhomes in that location as a mitigation strategy.
Okay. So if they do that, then the developer's required to put that in?
Yes.
Okay. And then that in turn, that cost is just going to roll over into the homes, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is there, I know they've come with a few different plans here and setups, but when they were doing this, they kind of figured this was going to come back. Is there any way that they didn't leave some green space behind there and pull those townhomes in farther?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation where our comp plan calls for high density. So they were trying to hit unit count there in the concept plan. So I'd say if they came in without a plan at preliminary plat, I would feel differently about it. But just that concept plan, they were following the land use guidance. The EAW then brought to light the sound requirement. So I would say it wasn't out of any type of negligence or strategy. They were just trying to hit the density requirement for that property in our comp plan. And then the EAW provided additional information with sound. So it's a few things working at the same time, but I would say between now and the next time you see an application, should that be preliminary plat, we'll have additional information about what the mitigation strategy is, if it's additional green space, if it's pulling the townhomes back, if it's a comp plan amendment to go low density in that area, if it's all of the above with the enhanced windows, landscaping. So a myriad of things that we were thinking about, but I would say not surprising based on the concept plan, the comp plan, and then the information from the EAW.
Okay. And then I missed something that you said earlier when we were looking at the sheet that had the Met Council on it and it had MnDOT on it. And you said something about less, I'm sorry, do you have that up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's something about, I wrote down less density, less population. But I don't, did you say something pertaining to that when it comes to Met Council?
So the two projects that we're working on, the two residential projects, so the Enclave and Summerfield, we have shared that information with the Met Council. And based on those numbers and the construction time, we likely will exceed some of our projections in our comp plan. So they've requested, as we move through the planning process, if both projects receive preliminary plat approval for the number of units that they're slated right now, that we move forward with a text amendment. So it would be the replacement of some population projections in our plan with higher numbers, knowing that these two projects are happening in tandem, bringing several thousand residents in the next couple of years.
Okay, so does this technically mean then that we could have less density in this development that's coming in and meet what we need to?
It could, we would have to do a comp plan amendment, so it's 3 parcels right now. 2 are guided low density, 1 is guided high density. So should the council and D.R. Horton want to move forward with a comp plan amendment, we could move forward that all 3 are low density. I'd have to run some numbers to see what that does to our overall density community-wide. But I would say we typically have fallen okay in that realm, especially with the 2 high-density projects we just worked on, Carver Place and Carver Oaks. So we could, but I'd want to run those numbers and get a full application before the city council before I guarantee that, yes, low density can work across this entire site.
Okay, and part of the reason I'm asking is there's a number of cul-de-sacs that are in this very, this concept plan. And so we've learned a little bit from Lorraine Court that if we don't leave enough parking, that we end up troubles in the neighborhood because we don't have enough. I know that will come back later, but that's why was thinking about what you said with that lower density. Does that in some of those cul-de-sac areas then space out those lawns a little bit so that we don't have so many parking issues on some of those areas, some
It wouldn't
cul-de-sacs?
it wouldn't be in any of the single family areas. So any of the areas with the cul-de-sacs, it would be the northwest corner where the townhomes are shown. So if you see directly adjacent to 12 on the far west.
It'd just be up there.
Yeah, so it's private streets in that area. What we've typically seen is some additional parking spaces that are like communal parking spaces. So like Timber Creek has several parking bays, but it would be that area specifically where the density would likely decrease.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
I don't know that I have anything extra. I have the same concerns about noise and curiosity as to what happens. Christy, it was like we shared notes before the meeting because you asked the exact same questions that I was going to ask. I am struggling to get this packet page to load on my iPad. So if anyone is reading my body language and sees frustration and me ready to arc my iPad, it's not a reflection on this project. It is technologically related. So I don't know that I have any other questions. It seems pretty clear and it doesn't look like we need to do any additional study on this. With that, I would entertain a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 132-25, adopting the findings of fact, conclusion, and record of decision for the enclave at Carver Creek environmental assessment worksheet.
Councilmember Kirschman? Second by Councilmember Sayer.
I mean, like they brought a whole team and you didn't ask any questions. Which is great. I mean, yeah.
We can delay this.
We can ask questions. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Conrad,
Aye.
Councilmember Hirschman,
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer,
Aye.
Councilmember Pascal,
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming, guys. Sorry, we didn't have any questions. Moving on, we're going to talk about the future CASA 1140 improvements and joint powers agreement.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Reporting tonight of the joint powers agreement between the city of Carver and Carver County for a corridor study on CASA 11 and CASA 40 from 4th Street down to 154th Street in the Logan Township, which is generally adjacent to the future proposed Summergate or Summerfield development in the southwest growth area of the city. So as part of that development, it's proposed to ultimately plan on about 1,000 acres of land in the area, which brings anywhere from 4 to 7 or 8,000 potential residential units. So that's a very large amount of traffic that's going to be going on to the local systems and county systems in this area in the future. So it goes without saying that some
Can I ask you a question? You said 48,000 units or people?
units. So times 2.74 is people. You're sure on that?
That seems like
In the master plan.
So I think, are you saying not just for Summerfield, but for that?
Yeah, for the master plan, the whole area out to County Road 43, which is what this study looks to do is inform on when this area is built out, what does the transportation network have to do to support that build out of that whole region of the city?
You can share it.
There's on page 21 of the packet.
Yeah.
21, I might have that page number off, but I believe 21 and 21.
that's a shocking number to get. Yeah. 48,000 units.
So
How many units do we have?
can you, looking at our comprehensive plan, Aaron, could you like describe more or less what, I know we're talking about generally what area, but you know, are we talking everything south of Carver Creek between 11 and 43? Like what's the area we're looking at here?
Yeah, so basically, for the comprehensive plan, our westerly growth limit in the 2040 plan is County Road 43.
Okay.
So this literally looks at everything that would go all the way out to 43.
Okay.
So,
So it's the whole, okay. So it's everything that hasn't been
yeah,
built.
from a transportation planning standpoint, it would be short-sighted not to think about the ultimate build out your planned transportation network. So that's what this study seeks to do, is inform on, okay, how much traffic is gonna be on 11 in the future? At what point does there have to be a reliever that gets out to 43 to take on, take that traffic? And so forth. So that's the general goal, is to figure out what is the configuration of County Road 11 gonna look like going to the north up to 4th Street? What are those intersection configurations gonna be? What's the access spacing? What is this ultimate intersection that would service the Summerfield development gonna look like at 11 and 40? It was contemplated always that this would be a roundabout, but we're gonna look at, okay, if it is a roundabout, is it a single lane roundabout? Is it a multi-lane roundabout? What does this really need to be to support the traffic demands of this area? So that's in essence what we're trying to do. The county supports this effort. They're willing to lead the study from a contract perspective. They'll do all the interim cash flow of the study, with the city of Carver being responsible for payment of their half by next October. So until that time, the county's gonna cash flow the study. And after we have time to do future bonding issuances with all these sorts of improvement projects that are gonna be happening, that's when we'll have the cash available to then repay the county, which is why we have an October 2026 date for repayment. So, but from an actual work perspective, the city is the lead. The city's gonna providing the staff leadership team to really drive these issues forward and make sure that this project stays on task and is getting done in a manner that is suitable for the needs of the future city of Carver. So that's in essence what we're looking to do. The county is willing to bring this to the board at their upcoming board meeting here in October. So if the council wants to move forward with that, this would then go to the county board and they would contemplate this with their county board. Let me kind of drill down into the funding as well. So on the consent agenda tonight, there was a pre-development cost reimbursement agreement with Summergate. And one of the items that was in that agreement was the payment of what I'll call their half of this study. So what was in that agreement is of the city's half, which is $76,000, the city would pay for half with the summer grade development team paying for their half. So it's about $38,000 split ultimately between the city and the developer for that project. So that's, again, in essence, what we're trying to do is really take, based on all the information that we're getting from this future build, is determining what does the transportation network need to look like to support it. And that's the primary goal of the study. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Courtney, could I start with a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we're, just so I can get my bearings here on this, so when we're looking at the section for the study, we're going from 4th Street across from the gravel pit, right? And then all the way down past what will be the future development, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then, but when I'm looking for our section, I guess our section that is in the city of Carver, because this is County Road 11, we have already established roads that aren't going to be changing from 4th Street to Main Street to the one that comes out of the bluffs there. And then the next real change that we're going to see, because the westerly side of 11 from 4th Street down to kind of our border right now is gravel pit, and Mount Carmel, we have homes up there already. The next intersection that we're going to have any type of change to is technically in the county right now. So I'm just curious why we're paying for part of the study. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think the numbers are terrible when we start to look at the quarter of the cost. But at the same point, why are we on the hook for a county road project that's happening for the county right now and it's not the city, we're not establishing something that's in our city limits right now, correct?
So the typical cost participation policy for corridor studies such as this in developing communities is that the cost is split 50-50 between the county and the city. Once you get to an actual project, that would follow the standard county cost participation policy for the construction project, in which that would be based on the amount of land that was actually in the city versus in the township. So that's a different split that would be considered if a project were to move forward. But as far as the study goes, the 50-50 split is a very standard way of approaching this from a funding standpoint.
Okay, so when we talk standard, is this something that's written into an agreement? Because I know the second one you said we've worked with that before, but is this an agreement, or is this kind of like a handshake deal, I guess, where we're going to take this, you're going to take that?
Every study that I've heard of in the last 5+ years has happened with this typical arrangement. So
Okay.
I don't know if it's written anywhere or not, but that's how it's done.
Okay. And then you said this will be able to determine whether we're going to need a single or a double lane roundabout down there. I mean, if we have another gravel pit that's coming from that direction. Oh, I see Brent's hand. Hi, Brent. You want to say something, Brent? Go ahead.
I just want to clear something up. There's 2,500 units in Summerfield. That's not, this corridor study isn't intended just for Summerfield.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the county wants to study the whole area as if it was built out, because under the theory, let's not build something for today that we know is going to change tomorrow. So if you look at this study area that Brent is putting up on the map, it's comprehensive. I mean, it goes well beyond, I would offer it goes well beyond anybody's lifetime, frankly. But in order to get, let me get that back up. It goes well beyond anyone's lifetime, but in order to get a comprehensive view of what's needed and how to assess needs, the county wants to do that. And that's where the 50-50 comes in, frankly. I mean, you have, the council has the full right to negotiate and say, no, we're not gonna pay 50-50, but an opinion only, I would offer that I don't think that would be fair. I mean, they're paid 50% of this project essentially is in the city, or will be eventually all will be in the city. I think when you start getting granular as to like what roads are in the township today, I think there's some built-in inequities that you could truly find, but like on the whole, I think we're in really good shape. The county has been a great partner with us on this, but I think we all saw, or at least those have been around for a while, that Jonathan Carver Parkway north of 4th Street was a challenge until it was redone. And so what you're doing is you're paying for an engineering firm to do some forecasting, traffic modeling, to develop what will continue to be the main vertebrae, if you will, of the city of Carver, and how that will at one point maybe become too full, and what's the strategy for using County Road 43 as a reliever to get from, as folks traverse from 169, maybe that main corridor for them isn't using County Road 11 and JCP, maybe they continue straight and go through County Road 43. So don't think of this as just for Summerfield and 8,000 units for the city of Carver in the next few years. There will not be 8,000 units added to the city of Carver in my grandchildren's lifetime. So I don't have any yet. So I just want to kind of like level off expectations for what the need for this study is and how it might impact residents for today. Is that we're simply studying a corridor method, or a corridor that we know is going to have increased traffic, but the spectrum of like view and how we're planning for it goes out further, like we'd want any good plan to do. All right, well, thank you for following. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that additional explanation. Same as Mayor Johnson, I was having some problems opening this document, so I couldn't flip back and forth very easily. So that is all I have for now. Thank you.
All right. I'm having like a hard time seeing a need for this for that money. So it's $187 before it's divided out. So at the very bottom, $187,000.
It's $152,000.
Unless you have the optional
Yeah.
things too.
The
So,
county's gonna pay for any of the optional stuff.
okay,
That was for their use.
okay, so 150,000. They float the bill for a while, and then we eventually pay 25% of it.
Ultimately, we'll be paying 25% of that.
Of this.
The JPA just says it's split 50-50, but with the other reimbursement agreement with Summergate, that states that they'll pay for half of our half essentially. So they're gonna pay for a quarter of the study, we're gonna pay for a quarter of the study.
And the deliverable is estimates and like forecast on the year 2050 traffic.
No, the end product is going to be a cost split, an estimated cost split to bring, to improve Jonathan Carver Parkway to that intersection of 40 and 11. And so that will be kind of the foundation of building out that whole Summerfield development. So it's, if the council doesn't move forward with this, the whole project is sunk fundamentally. So in order to understand what you need to do to improve the intersection, and then our companion piece is bringing the utilities, you have to do this. You might negotiate on the cost, although I don't think there's a lot of runway there, but in order for the engineering firm to design the road, they need to study it in some detail. So think of this as a feasibility study. And because it's not that different than any other feasibility that we've done cost wise. It just happens to be a county road. But we have, if you remember Jonathan Carver Parkway, we had a cost share split on Jonathan Carver Parkway.
I also remember, actually, are really disappointing because there's such lag time and there's just, or like the crash analysis. I don't know why we can't just use what's here right now, because
The road, the existing road.
or like, no, for the data points, or like why you need this, I mean, I realize there's modeling software and that they're gonna, or just do the 11 and the JCP. Go to there.
So they have to study this area and do forecasting based on future homes, so that data is not available. I get it, like,
And
I can,
or just before, the other thing is our 2040 projections, we're already over forecasting, or they, we're on track too, so. It's just really hard to plan 25 years out.
yeah, so think of that as if this is like parts of a pie. The part of I would say out of the 8 pieces in this pie, 7 of those pieces are directed towards the Summerfield development. 1/8 is like looking at like all the background noise and all the background traffic, not noise, traffic that will enter this. This is what it costs. There's not a way to like save money. An editorial opinion I would offer, you don't want to make what probably amount to be a $10 million like project and like use data that like you found on an existing resource. You want like the best data to get the best value. So I'll leave it at that, but that's just my analysis from someone who's been involved with this process.
So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is in order to do the Summerfield project, in order for that to get off the ground, we plus the county is going to have to reconstruct the intersection at 11 and 40 into that property in some way, or move it or whatever. And this will be the basis to designing that project, which is necessary to then have the Summerfield.
Correct. Typically, the county will pay, so they'll pay for every leg that they own of this. So there's north and south Jonathan Carver Parkway, and then County Road 40. So they have 3 legs of this intersection. And then the city street going into the Summerfield development will be, it's the city share, but we pass that through to the developer.
Yeah.
And so in order for them, so think of when we do a street project in the city, in order to tell the residents like what they might owe on the project, the council tells the city engineer to do a feasibility study. So they look at, how many, linear feet the project is and the type of curb and the depth of blacktop. And so they'll create a cost split based on the county's cost share policy. That'll say that of this, the median work, the county is gonna owe $500,000 and the city share is $100,000, which we pass on to Summergate. And so they'll run through that whole project. But the only way that occurs is by doing it. So again, because I think we maybe got off on the wrong foot, like the study is studying like the physicalness and geometry of this. And it's influenced by like the data, but that data will have it hasn't been studied. And so might there be some like traffic crash stuff, but really that is, I would say, immaterial because the intersection will fundamentally be new. It'll either be a roundabout or a signal. And so they'll have to test that out based on the level of traffic that they have at that intersection. So none of this information is on the shelf available. They'll have to generate it. And frankly, it's the rules of the game when it comes to like improving a county road. They'll require it. And if we say no, then we don't have a project. And that, again, that's the council's prerogative, but the only way this will get approved by the county board is if the city agrees to move forward with this feasibility study, if you will.
Thank you.
So I kind of think of this as Jonathan Carver Parkway project phase 2. Phase 1 was Levi Griffin Road to 4th Street. Did we have a developer, anyone else that we shared costs with for that?
So we paid the whole, well, we paid for the study and we paid for the improvements.
So I think, Lori, I agree with you that I don't love the thought of spending money on studies, but that's where I end agreeing with you. I think $38,000 is a lot of money any way that you look at it. I think we are lucky in this instance to have a developer to share those costs with us. And I think that this is something that, well, I don't love the idea of spending money on a study. The folks who are going to love the idea of it are the folks who are living here in 5 and 10 years down the road. The folks who don't feel terrified making a left-hand turn out of their neighborhoods because there's a roundabout there or it's a signal intersection or whatever that looks like. But I think that this study is going to give us a better idea of what that looks like with volume of cars, which I think all of our jaws collectively dropped when we put that number that's going to be in here once there is a full build out of the area when Brent's grandchildren are grown and are moving into that area. Let's see. I just had some questions on the timeline, which I know is listed in here, and I just wanted to find it real quick. But can you kind of help me with kind of the laddering of the other projects? This project or this study final report April 2026. Next summer is when we're planning on doing the utility extension or the potentially future summer date. And then shovels in the ground for summer date in potentially 2027.
Yeah. So the utilities can't happen until the roadway is done because we want them to be the same project. So generally you're correct, but
I'm not.
well, generally with the schedule, you're like correct, but like there's a lot of stuff here and it's not just our project, it's the county, so a lot of moving parts, so I would say generally you're correct, but we don't want to commit to like any like specific scheduling. I would say if we could have shovels in the ground by spring of 27, that'd be great.
But I think what I'm hearing you not say is that feels a little aggressive.
I don't want to speculate to that degree. Like when you're working on a project like this large, like, and I know you can, I'm advocating for just taking one step at a time, and our first step is like, let's get this study started, let's get it done, and let's see where we're at. But I tend to like push back on like, because good engineers want to get that schedule done, but like the schedule, like when we're done, then we can like schedule the next step. But sometimes we inadvertently rush a process to meet this arbitrary deadline of having it done by July of 26. I just want to make sure that it's done, that residents in the area, both township and city, have had a chance to like weigh in, and it's kind of like fully cooked before we go to the next step.
Yeah, and good point, really good point. I'm just trying to figure out the phasing and the scheduling in my mind. I'm not necessarily trying to push this through any quicker than it should be. I believe in same thing what you said, giving it time, making sure that we have adequate resident feedback, all those things. So I also think, and Brent, you didn't come out very straightforward in saying it, but I think while we could try to negotiate with the board, I think if any of you have watched or attended a county board meeting recently, especially the ones where they're talking about their budget, this is not the time that we would get any traction on that argument. And I think that when we're looking at our split could have been $76,000, but because we've got Summergate that's going to benefit from this and we'll split the costs, I think that $38,000, while like still a lot of money, is a really good deal for the city of Carver because we have a cost sharing partner in Summergate. With that, I would make a motion to enter into a joint powers agreement with Carver County for the CASA 11 and 40 corridor study.
I'll second.
Motion by Mayor Johnson, second by Councilmember Frischman. Any further discussion? Right. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Conrad,
Aye.
Councilmember Hirschman,
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer,
Aye.
Councilmember Pascal,
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, thank you. Okay, this is when we're going to circle back to an agenda item we have to skip over from a work session, which would be the city manager's reports. While we're doing this, let me say, you guys are doing awesome. The technical gremlins tonight have been fierce, and I appreciate, especially you, Brenda, and all of that.
Brenda, can you slide that you mouse to a different spot? So, good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a couple of items. Andrew Simmons and Brenda Good have been working hard on logistics for the Public Services Facilities Tour. So that's planned for Monday, October 13th at 7 a.m. We're meeting at Carver Station. Southwest Transit is generously going to be helping us with transportation needs on that day. So we have some facilities with City of Ramsey, Fridley, Orono, and Victoria to finish off the day. But a good opportunity to connect with staff, so public services staff, City Hall staff, our architectural team, construction management folks, and Bolton and Mink will also be joining us. A lot of those folks might be driving by car just based on some other commitments that day, but our city team will be on the bus. Box lunch will be provided. Any questions for myself, Brenda, or Andrew related to that visit?
This is only marketing related, but didn't Sharon say that one of the new styles of Taco Bell is in Ramsey?
She did.
Can we drive past them? Well, I just,
I'm sure we could.
Okay. okay. Sorry.
Brent, I have a question about that. So if I'm correct, do we have a fire board meeting at 4 o'clock on that same October 13th?
We do.
Okay, and so that's gonna give everybody enough time to get back from Victoria, or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, just checking.
Any other questions related to that? New fire chief, happy to share. I know we've done it publicly, but just wanted to do it in the council setting. It's very, I think, fortunate to have Tim Walsh as the city's new fire chief. I know all of you know him, but Tim's got a lot of great experience. He's a great character. He's got a lot of emergency management experience. When I first started in Carver, he was actually working for the county as the assistant emergency management director. So I think we're really fortunate to have Tim on board in this new role. Also want to talk about something kind of arm's length related to it, and I'm a big believer, and I think our team is here too, about we're okay to talk about hard things, especially talking about hard things in a public setting. And so although it's not specific to Chief Walsh, it does impact him and kind of the related, coming up with all these puns that are actually connected with it. But there are, because of kind of the nature of the fire service, or in some cases can be familial relationships or closely related family members. And some communities have chosen to kind of turn away from that and have kind of a pretty, I would say, conservative policy, kind of prohibiting any type of supervisory role for a closely related family member. I've asked for assistance from the city attorney's office along with Chief Walsh to develop a policy that navigates that, so we can have folks like Chief Walsh and other folks within the department that have family members in the department, but also has a great level of security and confidence, whether in issues, whether they're real or perceived, related to conflicts of interest or influencing the employment of somebody that happens to be a brother, daughter, son, father, mother, etc. on the department. And so eventually, once we can narrow down on a policy, that'll have to be brought to the city council. But you don't have to look too far in other communities where you see kind of, I would say, examples of where it wasn't properly identified or maybe not brought into the light. And they're trying to kind of manage issues related to that, whether they're real or perceived. And so I think we're better situated by just saying, yes, we know this, but we're leading into it, and we're going to develop a solid policy that protects our integrity and the integrity of the department without limiting opportunities for those that are providing that service. So I just wanted to share that. Also a commercial for the fire department slash city open house. That's tomorrow, October 7th. There was an application for a certificate of appropriateness that was recently denied by the HPC. The applicant reached out to say that their previous application was an error, that they noted that their contractor put in the application that the window was wood, and they were applying to have it replaced with vinyl when according to the property owner, the window is actually currently vinyl. So they've resubmitted an application. That'll be at the next HPC meeting on October 13th. And then a project that I've shared with the council and with Aaron Schmidt, the city engineer's help, along with our team, working on a project to, I would say, redirect surface water in the Levi Griffin Commerce Drive area. Currently, it kind of runs through, you can see the discolored area in the map. It runs across a 6-inch drain tile. And we are advocating for a more reliable and traditional surface water or storm sewer management piece. So the conceptual idea, and Aaron and his team will be developing this and bringing it to the city council, would be to install traditional concrete sewer pipe down the future Commerce Drive. We have right of way and an easement in there, and then bringing that to the MnDOT right away, and then kind of running it through the systems. Aaron Schmidt and I met with representatives from MnDOT last Wednesday or Thursday, and kind of brought this idea up. And this is related kind of in some ways to the property owner just east of Fleet Farm, Mr. Mark Lano. He's come to, I think, a previous planning commission meetings and city council meetings, just expressing some concern. Welcome working with the Carver County Water Management Organization, specifically Paul Moline. So he's been a part of the conversations too. And we have a meeting scheduled with the WMO later this week. So there's a couple of ways that we can kind of proceed with that project. So we're still kind of working through that, but just wanted to get this on your radar and get kind of an open setting at a meeting, let you know that in the next several months, you might be seeing another iteration of this as we start to plan for this in greater. And then Aaron Smith has one thing to add.
I do. So I'll send a calendar invite tomorrow, but on Tuesday, October 21st, we have Deb Barber with the Met Council and Mackenzie Young Walters coming out to Carver. So we're doing a joint meeting with the Planning Commission and City Council. They just released system statements for the 2050 comprehensive plan. So we did a little kickoff at a previous work session on our parks plan, but this will be kind of a formal kickoff with our new system statement. Ask questions to the Met Council to go over some changes that are required in the upcoming plans. So just getting us thinking about the next version and asking questions directly to the source. So October 21st, I'll send out a calendar invite and provide some information as we get it from the Met Council.
really great opportunity, a great time. Dash to record numbers. As probably you guys read in your email. Kelly. So, she's been continuing her responsibilities for District 4 and the entire council, which sounds like a really big job. We're good to have her now.
I have two more things. One, Andrew and Paul Schultz are coordinating, we're going to be doing some parking spot striping, hopefully later this week. We got a connection from Councilmember Conrad related to a resident that is in that line of work, and they want to do like a promotional video. So they're going to be donating their services. We're going to get a resolution. I think Andrew is working on that. So exciting news related to that work needed to be done. And then we're continuing to work on the certified levy project. And one of the things I want to get on your radar that Dave and I have been talking about along with Aaron Schmidt is during the construction, we're going to be impacting parking for some people that live along the levee, primarily probably along Broadway. And so we're probably going to be coming back to you with a ordinance that would provide staff the ability to, what's the right word I'm looking for? Relax overnight parking standards on Broadway. We have that 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And so we need to provide those folks with some parking. We're going to explore what other opportunities there are. We'll loop in Andrew and Paul with that. And maybe it's not Broadway, but we just want to get you thinking about like entertaining the idea of doing that so that we can be good partners and neighbors to the folks that may be impacted by the levee construction and have limited parking facilities already. So I just want to get that on your radar. I miss anything with that, Dave?
No.
Okay. I'm done. For now.
Okay. Great. Then we've got, let's do council requests and communications. One. Chris, do you want to go first?
Sure. I think the only thing I want to make sure is, Brent, I think when you said the HPC meeting, you might have said the 13th. It is Tuesday, the 14th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Okay. Nothing here?
No updates tonight.
0.
Okay, right. Give me a second here. I have lots of updates again tonight. On September 17th, we had the Senate Capital Bonding Committee come visit Carver. There were 4 senators, Senator Karen Housley, Senator Sandy Pappas, Senator Jordan Rasmussen, and Senator Johnson Stewart. And it felt like a lightning round visit. They were only here for about 15 minutes. We met at Church by the River, and then we took a quick walk up to the levee. But it was good. We got one question about, so our ask is for $3.35 million from the state in bonding funds. And we got one question from Senator Pappas because we have received $6 million from the state previously in the 2023 bonding bill, which is the last bonding bill that the state of Minnesota came through with. The question was, we generally don't fund more than half of these projects. So I think that was the only moment of the evening. Otherwise, it was very well received. Folks loved Carver. I think they understand the need and impact that this project has in terms of preventing our community from flooding. And for as much of a borderline nightmare the flood was last year, it provided some really good experience to speak to and to kind of say, these were the issues. We had residents calling, asking about pets at the levee, broken, those kinds of things to further tell our story and really drive it home for these folks who maybe have never been to Carver ever. So let's see. Then from September 17th to the 19th was the League of Minnesota Cities Board retreat in Walker. We had representatives from the Colorado League of Cities there. We kind of talked about what they did and some tips for what our board could incorporate into our work. Let's see, on September 24th, the school district did a coffee with the cabinet at Mokamoki. They have been doing coffees with cabinets at each of the 4 communities in the district, and that was our turn. It was good to see Dr. Rathke out here and kind of talking with folks about everything that's going on, including the upcoming levy referendum. On the 25th, I participated in the whole HAP discussion group, which takes place at the lodge at the Chaska Community Center. It's led by Carver's own Jim Wygand, and I presented to the folks, mostly senior citizens, just kind of an update about what's going on in our community and letting folks know. I don't know if it was the fact that I went into Chaska to make this presentation, but I was assuming it was going to be a Chaska resident heavy group, and it was probably, I bet that there were about 18 folks there, and I think 16 of them were Carver residents. So really good group, lots of great questions, really engaged group. On the 26th, we had the community leaders meeting. There were also BizTown interviews at Carver Elementary. I've done this before, and I've told you guys that this is one of my favorite things. It is 5th graders who are literally interviewing with you for jobs for when they go on the BizTown field trip, which is a junior achievement place, and they sit in these roles during the day, and they're either mayor or they're a DJ or they're a CFO, and or they work at the cafeteria. There are all these roles that they're interviewing for, and it's really cool to see the kids who make eye contact with you halfway across the way, shake your hand, and then there's some kids that you kind of have to draw the questions out of them a little bit more gently too. I was able to interview Caden, who, if you guys remember, a handful of years ago, that was the little guy who's not so little anymore, who emailed me or sent me a really sweet handwritten letter about the discrepancies between the population signs off of County Road 40 and the one that's in Chaska as you're kind of turning in. So really sweet to see his evolution as a scholar. And then that same day was the Carver Fire Relief Golf Tournament that I volunteered at, which is always a good time. Weather couldn't have been any nicer. Got to see lots of support from the city staff, so it's great to see you guys out there. On October 1st was the Great River Greening Volunteer event. I'm sure that they thought that when they scheduled this for October 1st, it was going to be this chilly, crisp fall day, and it was 90 degrees that day. But I don't know the final number, but I would bet that they planted hundreds of shrubs and plugs and tree saplings along Carver Creek, right?
Yep.
In Creekside Park. So really great to see those folks. TC Bear was out there again, and he's very sweet and animated, and literally was planting plants. So let's see, that same day we had the Minnesota Mayors Association meetup at the Arboretum. So I am, now the outgoing president of MMA. So kind of hosted in Carver County, where we started with a private tram tour of the Arboretum, which every time I go there, I ask myself why I don't go there more often. So plug for the Arboretum. And then we had dinner at Winchester by the dinner and a presentation in Victoria for the evening. We heard from an individual, Katie Pratt, from the State Board of Mediation, kind of talking about mediating and kind of handling tense situations. So a really good presentation. And I think that's it. Just a couple, looking ahead, tomorrow's the last day of the farmer's market. So please go get all your veggies, and then we'll see everybody at the fire department open house. I think that's it. I feel like that's it. So then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, can I interrupt that really quick? Sorry, I do have one more thing. I'm sorry. So I wanted to share this with you. This is, I learned through my counterpart in Maple Plain that communities in Hennepin County have the opportunity, actually communities across the state, it turns out, have the opportunity to put a one sheet in with the preliminary tax statements that go out in November. So that instead of just seeing a number, there's more of a narrative of where the money is going to, what can be done. I have shared this, so you can do it, but you need the county's permission. I think the way it works, the way I understand it from my friend in Maple Plain is that, they pay for the printing of these and then the county mails them out. I emailed Commissioner Fahey over the weekend to tell him that I think that this would be a great opportunity to kind of tell our story and to engage with residents and to make them a little bit more aware than, again, just seeing 2 columns of numbers. And I think he's working on it on his end, but I wanted to share this with you guys. Maybe in the category of council requests, but not of a request for the city of Carver, because I think we need the county to say yes to this. It's my anticipation that the answer is going to be like, there's no way we can make this work for fiscal year 2026, but maybe we can do it for 2027. I think, you know, if you guys are keeping track of how many times I mentioned the loss of the Chaska Herald, it's in the dozens. And I think this is another way that we can kind of shine a light on what we do, transparency, where your property tax money goes, and to try to mitigate that loss of the Herald, because there always used to be an article about the communities and what the tax levy was going to be for the following year. And I don't know that we're getting that again in the immediate future. So this is the example from Maple Plain that kind of shows this, and just a heads up on something I'm working on. Does anybody hate that idea? I don't want to like go off, but like,
Well, received.
Okay.
Very good idea.
Christy, I'll email you this one sheet, or I'll have Brent email it to you. But just wanted to share that with you guys. So, okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Okay, and a second. Motion by Councilmember Pasco, second by Councilmember Sayer. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Councilmember Conrad,
Aye.
Councilmember Pershman,
Aye.
Councilmember Sayer,
Aye.
Councilmember Pasco,
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes and we are adjourned. Good evening, everybody.
One time, I was one that comes.
Motion